I was really the one race I did get into is the 250 LCQ.
Yes.
And that was where Henry was right there on the chopping block.
Yep.
Forkner was kind of battling for that last transfer spot. Henry basically almost had him in the last turn because he went around railed the outside.
Yes.
And Forkner, it was smart what Forkner did, and it was also really smart what Henry did because the gap wasn't closed just yet if you watch that footage back. So at like first glance, you would think that he would have actually slingshot off and tried to jump that step down before the finish. But the direction Forkner was heading, he would have just jumped into him and they probably both would have crashed. So Henry did just check up. But it was interesting because I was rooting for Henry to get it.
Yep. Yeah.
But I was also kind of simultaneously hoping that Forkner wouldn't not get it.
Exactly.
But it was entertaining because I'm like, Forkner, think about the difference between, yes, I know he did just have brain surgery. So, but the difference between just that little edge for a guy like Forkner to be a championship hopeful or winning races or even dominating races too, getting the last transfer spot in a main event.
It's people are going to say like, yeah,
it's that much.
Yeah. They're going to say, oh, how could he fall, so far down? It's like, it's not that far. You're right. It's this much of like that little bit of grit and that tenacity. And it could knock you off your spot. A little bit of the shake of the confidence, a little bit of a mindset change. And that's kind of where you end up. Now, the fact that the guy's just racing, period, I think we're going to give him a applause because that was a gnarly surgery.
Right.
Gnarly injuries stacked up over the years. So you got to give the guy his due respect because it is good. And he is a fast rider. But yeah, you're right, man. It's a razor's edge difference between winning titles and like just being in the show. You know what I mean?
Totally. And there is definitely the connotation or the misconception that I think people think that the guys kind of right there on the bubble aren't really that good. And they are really, really good. And I think that's actually perfect proof that it's not that Forkner is riding horribly right now. It's not that Forkner is slow right now, because I bet you he's not. It's just that little bit, that 1% difference, that fraction of a percent, definitely, especially now, can bring you from being a top 3 guy to all of a sudden you're a 7th to 10th place guy, or a fraction of a percentage off that, and all of a sudden you're a bubble of a main event guy.
Yes.
It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much at all.
It really doesn't. And people are going to say it, have said it since the dawn of time. Every rider at the pro level is an insanely fast and talented rider. I don't care who you pick from, free practice and 250 Group C. It may not look like they're going that fast, but I promise you get them at your local track and you'll see just how talented those guys are by the stuff that they're doing. They deserve more credit. And like people are saying like, oh, well, you shouldn't be battling with a guy like Henry Miller. Henry Miller is one of the fastest dudes when it comes to riding dirt bikes. That guy whole shot in Millville didn't last long, but dude is a top 10 outdoor rider when he wants to be, so it's nuts. Let me ask you this. Do you think the way that Forkner's riding, is that more so of he just lost a little bit of that 1%? Is it him being like, hey, I have that 1%, but I'm just, trying to get my feet. I just want to finish a season, and then we'll worry about building next year back to that old school Forkner. Or is it something else that you think that's I don't say plaguing him, but that's on his maybe in his purview as to why he's not top 3 in points right now and not the Forkner we were used to seeing in years past? What's the thing?
Yeah, there's a few things that could play like little factors. I would guess that, and this is all a complete guess, I would guess that he's probably came into this season some percentage less prepared than he would have in other seasons. I would guess. Again, making this up. I think what that does is takes the belief away a little bit. Just a little bit. And then maybe it could be a combination of, is he afraid to get hurt? There could be a little bit of that playing into it too. Again, just making it up. But all it takes is 1 or 2 of those things to not be firing on all cylinders. And all of a sudden you're off by that 1% or that 2%. It's hard to believe in yourself if you're not totally prepared. It's hard to believe in yourself if you're subconsciously worried about getting hurt. This is me just assuming, but I see it in many other riders. I've had that issue myself too. And so when I watch him out there, like getting that last transfer spot, and it's also easy to let it compound on you too, where if your season isn't going the right way and it starts to go the opposite direction than you want it to, all of a sudden your goal becomes, let's just make this freaking main event instead of let's do the best I can. We should be top 10 in this main event, probably top 5 in this main event. Your headspace can start to go to, okay, I just got to get it in this thing. Then you're defensive about all of it. So again, I'm just kind of, that's maybe how I have felt in the past. But yeah. So other than 250 LCQ, If you guys enjoyed this podcast clip and you want to listen to full episodes, you can do so on Spotify and Apple Music. If you want to send in your own video submission, you can join us in the Moto Academy family inside of the Moto Academy app by just going to themotoacademy.com. That's also where you can sign up for a class. Okay, guys, see you next episode.